God, Janet.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. And with me this morning is my sidekick, Tam Veilleux of the Energy Almanac. Good morning to you, Tam.
Good morning. I just realized I feel like your special guest star. When they used to show special guest star.
Special guest star, Tam Veilleux.
I'm not.
But you are, right? I have two special guests each month. One is you, and the other is my Pleiadian-Earth calendar and astrology friends. And it's always so much fun, right? It breaks up the month. So I have guests, and I
I'm only
like
here
that.
for comic relief.
Comic relief. Well, that's a good one.
Yeah,
You look so tanned, by the way. You must be in the outdoors a lot lately.
I am a lot lately. Very. I have a little granddaughter that moved in next door, and we're outside catching salamanders, bugs, frogs, butterflies. Like I'm outdoors a lot.
Ah, that's fun. I
Yeah.
We have not had counter to half the country that's been boiling. We've been in cool, cloudy
Yeah.
weather,
Okay.
which is not unusual for us in June, right? July
Right.
is after about July 12th is when our weather starts to really get nice. So I literally yeah, you need the sun for that.
You would need the sun. Yes. Well, feel free to come on across the country.
Well, I am headed to Vegas, like I said, for my sister's funeral, so there might be sun there, but I can imagine that our 68 degrees here and me flying into 110 degrees isn't
Yeah.
going to be all that pleasant.
It's been
So,
very brutal in Vegas. I have a daughter there too, and ooh,
yeah,
brutal.
yeah. Anyway, uh, we're here together today to talk about what is happening in the month of July in terms
Yeah.
of the astrology. And
Mhm.
Um, there's actually as I was looking at the calendar, I have so many things that are there for July in terms of like astrological aspects, how
Mhm.
planets get together and create together. And we're not going to have time to go through all of those things. So those are going to be there's a couple of big ones. For example, Mars in a conjunction to Uranus that we're
Yes.
going to have to talk about. But for
Yes.
the most part, you're going to have to tune in to me on Mondays and Fridays to get to the myriad of aspects because we have some very bigger things to talk about. Is that kind of how you've looked at it too?
I absolutely highlighted the Mars Uranus conjunction as something
Mhm.
that we should talk about, and I actually think it's brilliant if each month we hit the big ones and let everybody tune into you regularly Monday and Friday because wow, your wisdom.
Thank you. But I looked at July and thought we really can't have a conversation about July unless we take up the very last thing, big thing that happens in June, which isn't until this Saturday, and that is Saturn's retrograde. Because
Okay.
now, one by one, these outer planets, we've
Oh
already
yeah.
had Pluto turn retrograde. Now we'll
Yeah.
have Saturn. And then as we walk into July, Neptune.
Right.
So, because Saturn and Neptune are both in the same sign, I thought it would be good to start with Saturn's retrograde in Pisces. And
Yes.
it's something we haven't really talked about yet on my show. My intention is to talk more fully about it on Friday.
Hmm.
But I thought we could just do a cursory. Let's go around the topic of Pisces, what
Yep.
that means,
Yep.
and besides that, Neptune has been sitting at 29 degrees of Pisces,
Yeah.
and has been for a couple of weeks now.
Hmm.
And what does that mean, right? Because it's like he's not quite ready to go into Aries yet,
Right.
but he's just sitting at that. One day I looked, it was 29:55. Like what is that? 5 seconds, so 5 minutes from being in Aries.
Yeah.
But he just hasn't done that yet. So when we talk about Saturn retrograde, now these planets retrograde every year. So we're
Hmm.
not talking about something woohoo, overly special. But it is important because a retrograde planet, as you know, Tam, turns everything from the outer expression into the internalized expression. Right.
Absolutely.
So we go from the outer expression of Saturn, qualities of discipline, structure, form, rules, laws, all of that. And then we turn it inward, and form and structure then becomes something that we deal with on the inside.
Hmm.
But if we first talk about it in terms of Pisces, Saturn. really represents the discipline, response ability,
Hmm.
structure, all of those things. And in Pisces, we have intuition,
Right.
we have spirituality, we have boundlessness. I love
Mhm.
that word. That's the only reason I say that word is I just love that word. Um, we have this idea of Pisces that dissolves boundaries,
Hmm.
which contrasts with Saturn's nature, which is to define and to solidify, limit, right? Confine,
Yep.
outline, those
Yeah.
things. So the impact then of Saturn moving through Pisces has been a reality check for everybody
Mm.
in
Yeah.
all different areas of life. And really, based on wherever you have Pisces in your own chart, you may be coming up to this boom, I should have had a V8 moment. And it also involves, reality checks around your ideals,
Mm.
around your expression of compassion, and all of these things, right?
Yeah.
It tests our faith, and it is pushing us for the practical application or manifestation of Piscean dreams, of Piscean intuition and
Right.
imagination.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
we were talking a little bit behind the scenes where it's like we have this feast or famine thing going on at sometimes. Like you were talking about how all these opportunities are coming and
Yep.
which ones do I choose? And I'm talking in my life about things that keep pulling me away from the being able to do business, right? I'm getting pulled into family. And then as soon as that gets checked up, then it will be to the opposite side. And that in everybody's life, it seems like we're up, we're down,
Wow.
we're right, we're left, and it is continuing on this path. It just seems
Mhm.
like, well, it's almost because the planets right now are kind of in a study of opposites, or,
Mm.
or a study of duality, right? Or
I was
these,
thinking with you, like it's the Cancer Capricorn axis that's messing with you right now. And actually, probably me to some degree too. Hmm.
yeah. I think with everybody, the last full moon that
Right?
just on the 21st. Wow, that's right.
Yep.
My sister died at the full moon.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
another full moon coming at the end of or middle of July with that same, or it
Yep.
was later in July with that same Cancer moon,
Yep.
or I mean Capricorn moon. And so that Cancer Capricorn axis is lit up
Hmm.
because of just the way the geometry of the planets is rolling right now. So now the nature of a retrograde, we know retrogrades take us internal, right? They give us an opportunity to review,
Yep.
reimagine,
Re-
reform.
yeah.
Any other words?
Assimilate. I like them for assimilating information.
Yeah,
Uh,
integrating
yep.
everything. Yeah.
Yep.
So when
Yep.
Saturn retrograde in Pisces, and that again starts on Saturday, the focus shifts towards reviewing our commitments and responsibilities that are related to our ideals, our beliefs, our
Hmm.
creative pursuits, right?
Yep.
And it's time for us to reconsider how we deal with things like escapism, right? That's a very Piscean Neptunian theme.
Yeah.
How we deal with fear, and I'm talking the vague fears, right? The false evidence appearing real kinds of
Right.
fears, not the
Right.
real ones that, we really should address, and our spiritual health.
Mm.
So there's a lot going on packed into the end of June that will carry on into July, albeit the rest of the summer and into the fall before Saturn turns back to direct. So potential manifestations of this is one, we're going to be reviewing or revisiting past issues,
Mm. Hmm.
right? Um, it might bring back past issues related to spirituality or to creative blocks or unresolved compassion, or unresolved issues in the house that it is in your natal chart, offering a chance for us to revisit all of that with maturity now. That's what Saturn wants, is
Yeah.
a mature expression. We
Hmm.
may have to clarify our boundaries, rewrite them even, or institute them if you have none, right? It's a crucial time to define healthy boundaries. What does that mean in the real world manifestation? It's a time to deepen our spiritual practices
Right.
and or take them up if you don't have them. or understand what it means to have a spiritual practice,
I
right?
like to
There's
think
that.
about I like to think about the word Saturn with seriousness, right?
Yes.
And so like have you taken your spirituality seriously? Um,
That's a
right?
good one. That is
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really love that word seriousness around Saturn, and that's not derogatory in any way, shape, or form. It's just like it's the planet that adds that flavor, right? That seriousness to
Yeah.
us. So, and maybe have you taken your dreams and visions seriously? Because like Pisceans, I always think about the big vision, the big dreamer, right? And
Mhm.
have you taken it seriously and put boots on the ground? I don't know about you, but a lot of my Piscean friends are very big dreamers, but I have to, like, I'm behind them with my Mars energy pushing. Come on, come on.
Let's get it done.
Let's be serious about that idea. You know?
Yeah. Well, it does give us a push to really assess our spiritual discipline,
Yes.
incorporating maybe more structure and form into that meaning, a
Mhm.
deliberate demonstration of your spirituality on a given basis. I mean, given that, the churches of the country, other than maybe in the South, don't have as much power or pull. They don't even have as many people anymore
Right.
attending. So that routine Sunday, maybe possibly Wednesday impact that, churches had on our spiritual dimension isn't there as
Hmm.
much anymore. So we have to create
Right.
our own spiritual disciplines. And then also, if artistic projects,
Right.
imagination and art and creativity are all a part of the Piscean enterprise.
Absolutely.
So, and handling vagueness and deception, because
Right.
Neptune makes things so not clear. And
Yes.
Neptune is in Pisces, and Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and
Mhm.
Saturn is in that dormitory. So the challenge for us will be, for the foreseeable future, to find balance between structure and fluidity. Right? We
Mm.
don't want to be so tightly constrained that we can't move forward, but we don't want to be so fluid that we're all over the place, that we're leaking or hemorrhaging.
Right.
Right?
Right. Well said. That's
And
perfect. Looking for that balance between the two. I love that. Yeah.
yeah, so
Well,
so I wanted to bring that up first, just because I think it really sets up the tone for the month of July. And then what's the first thing we have in July? Another Pisces impact, and that is Neptune turning retrograde
Neptune
in
retro.
Pisces. Pardon
Yep.
me?
No, I said yes. I agree. Neptune
Yeah,
in Pisces. Here we go. Like with all the planets slowing down, which I think, at least in America or in the Western Hemisphere, it falls nicely into summer when we should slow down, get outside, do what we can. But
change
still,
up
it's
your
a lot.
routine.
Yep. Yep. Change up the routine. So here we go. Neptune retrograde in Pisces.
Yeah. And Neptune again is the planet of dreams and
Dreams.
illusions and
Mm-hmm.
spirituality and confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And in Pisces, its home sign, all of those things get amplified because it's the house it rules, right? It's got a lot of power. So what we need to be focusing on, even while Neptune is not retrograde though, is intuition and empathy and compassion. But also, and this is where this polarity comes in, where with Neptune in Pisces, it's the dissolution of boundaries, and with Saturn in Pisces, it's the where are you so dissolved that you can't form a structure or a
Mm-hmm.
foundation.
Right.
Again, we've got this,
Yep.
push me, pull you
Push pull.
feeling. Yeah.
Right.
Um, so our spiritual awareness is enhanced, though. I
Mm-hmm.
like that.
I do too.
Creativity and our sensitivity to the environment or to the unseen or mystical parts of life are also enhanced. But it just leads us sometimes to some people, it depends on, again, your own personal chart and how this
Right.
is all playing out. It can lead to confusion or
Sure.
becoming easily deceived by others. And, you just have to find one email scam out there to see how many people fall for those things,
Yeah.
to see Neptune at work,
Right.
right? That's a Neptunian thing.
Mm-hmm.
And all the boundaries blur in
Right.
Neptune in Pisces. So the retrograde now. The retrograde, again, we take the outer expression and we move it inward.
Mm-hmm.
And the inward expression is all about reviewing our intuition, our connection to spirit,
Mhm.
all of those things. It's time to reconsider what's
Yeah.
really true
Mhm.
and might be misleading us as an illusion.
Oh, I like that question. Where am I being misled by
Mm,
my own illusions?
hmm
Mm.
So, I always like Neptune. I mean, it's not that I like or dislike retrogrades in general, but Neptune I really have an affinity for when he's retrograde. And that's because I feel like all of us have this amped up intuition. If you
Mm.
naturally go with it, right? If you're not fighting yourself, you have
Right.
amped up intuition. And one of the things that it also gives us an opportunity to do is to reevaluate our beliefs.
Yes.
Look at why I
Absolutely.
believe what I believe,
Hmm.
right? But also it gives us a time to clarify misunderstandings, um, anything that we've interpreted in our own lives or in our relationships. And then, we're also increased sensitive to the unseen realm, right? That's interesting to me
I
too.
I is I'm sure it's possible we're feeling this already. I feel
Oh,
like
yes.
everything that you're talking about, like my intuition, like I'm just on fire lately. It's crazy.
Yeah. One of the things with Neptune retrograde, I think, is it does relieve us of some of the strictures we have on using intuition versus logic,
Mm.
right?
Right.
So, but here's another interesting thought to that. Jupiter, a co-ruler of Pisces, is in
Mhm.
Gemini, the sign of logic and
Right.
thinking, right?
Mhm.
So we have hopefully the ability to balance logic and reason with intuition and gut instinct,
Sure.
right? To me, that seems pretty, you know, I think that makes this particular retrograde a little easier maybe for most of us. But also pay attention to your dreams.
Oh boy, are they crazy right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and Neptune in retrograde amps that up
Hamster.
somewhat. They can have more they can be more vivid, have
Mhm.
more symbology
Right.
attached to them and create this, big scene of something that's happening that really, if you take the time to break it down into what is it that the dream is showing you, you see that it has real impact for you
Yeah.
in your day-to-day life. So,
You
um,
it's all
so
flooding back to me now. My most recent dream is all flooding back, and I'm like, I gotta take notes. I
yeah,
gotta go
I
back.
love doing that kind of thing. Like if I have a dream like that I really remember, like it's vivid and it stands out, the first thing I'm going to do is write that dream down and
It's
then
so
take a look at what those symbols are, kind of juxtaposed against what is happening in my outer world,
right.
my daily waking life, because
Yeah.
there's clues to, solutions to problems,
Hmm.
warnings perhaps of what's to come,
Hmm.
or just other information, intuitive guidance that comes in during that period of time.
Absolutely.
So
I love dream interpretation. It's so important. And how long does the Neptune retrograde last? Do you remember the date?
I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but I would guess since it's going in June, it's probably going to be November.
I think yeah, that's what I was just looking
Yeah,
right.
I didn't
No,
look
it's
at those.
December 7th and 8th is what I have.
December, okay, is when it changes back to forward
Yeah,
motion.
yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. So we
And
had this for a good long time, so get
Saturn
comfortable with it.
Saturn will go direct in November.
Ah, okay, yeah, back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, as we get on later into this year, it gets really interesting astrologically, as Mars is also going to go into his retrograde, which he hasn't done for 26 months, 28 months.
Yeah.
And I think that that's going to be even more fascinating because he's treading between two signs, Cancer and Leo. He'll retrograde in Leo,
Hmm.
but go back to mid Cancer
Mm.
and then go forward again. So, any of those Cancer things that we're dealing with right now will have sort of a reverb later, right? As these waves, come at us throughout this year, throughout the rest of this year. Okay, so anything else about Neptune retrograde that we want to chat about?
No, just make sure that as all these retrogrades pop up, I'll remind you, as I always do, for those who are listening, block some time. Like, actually use it. Block time in your calendar to sit and have a think. Because I don't know if you know this, but you literally can't have a deep think at the same time as you're doing something else. You literally have to sit with a pen and a book and think. So,
Yes, and you have this perfect little thing in the almanac that has notes, like a notes page,
mm-hmm.
right? If it's
Use it.
astrological, and get out your almanac, and I want to show the cover here,
Yeah.
and you can do some of the note taking right there in your almanac. And
Yes.
I don't know, I do that, and I have like all these different books that I write in,
Me too. Me
which
too.
is so,
So
you know,
nice.
I told my daughters one day, when I die and you find all of my journals, just know that they don't go in order. Like, if you're looking for some kind of day-to-day thing, you probably have to go through 4 or 5 different books to find what
Yeah.
was going on.
You
And
might
they
know which
just,
decade it's from, but that's it.
yeah. I know by the color, right? Green was this year, red
Ah,
was last year, and, oh, I have red 2 years in a row. Oh my goodness, that's even gonna blow them away more. Anyway. The next day, Mercury into Leo. We don't have to talk too much about that one,
no,
but on Tuesday, July 2nd, the communication planet is done with the sign of emotional communication, Cancer, and moves into the much more playful energy of Leo,
right.
which, we have communication style becoming more confident, perhaps, or
That
more
makes
dramatic.
hmm
Leo drama, persuasive, maybe. Leos are really good. Wherever that Leo is, that's a conversation where you can convince people to
Yep,
do what you want to do. Um, but there's a strong inclination anyway with Mercury to express yourself.
right.
But then you put it in the sign of self expression,
hmm
and we become more self expressive, right?
Right, right.
So I think it is our ability to become more enthusiastic, maybe,
hmm
in
Oh, yeah,
whatever it is that we're talking about.
sure.
Maybe more creative thinking, thinking outside of the box,
I
right?
think like more wit. That's what
Wit.
I.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why not? Mercury is the sign that rules the sign of wit,
Oh,
Gemini. So
yeah,
why not, right?
right.
Um, but there's also leadership qualities here. So it might be
Sure. Yeah.
people that are standing up and taking the opportunity to use their voice in powerful leadership
Mm,
sort of ways.
yeah.
Um, to me, I don't know. I like Mercury in Leo because,
Yeah.
it's an Mercury rules an air sign, and
mhm,
air and fire, Leo is fire, work well together.
Yeah.
It's like fanning this flame of excitement and
I fear it could be tiresome, but you know,
in some cases, think about the rhetoric that'll start to amp up over the next
absolutely
few months as we get closer to a USA presidential election.
right.
We're already there's so much already,
Yes.
um, but what drama is added to it as we get Mercury and Leo? I don't know. But, it is a time to be creative, to engage in, education and learning, which is a Gemini thing or a Mercury thing. And, that adds to maybe the excitement over certain topics, to captivate and motivate people, you know. uh, We can be more personally expressive. So overall, it's a good transit, but we do have to watch for the trauma drama
Right.
quality of it.
Absolutely. I was wondering if Mercury might find us sort of analyzing our own expression,
Mm.
and especially creative expression, analyzing if you're a singer, how you hit those notes, or analyzing and looking at. I just wonder. I just might be a possibility.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you put Leo in if you have Leo in your 3rd house, for example, and Mercury is passing through Leo in your 3rd house, which is already a house of communication,
Hmm.
then it's very possible you're rethinking how you think, you're rethinking how you speak, you're
Hmm.
rethinking what you speak about,
Hmm.
um, and doing all of that sort of evaluation
Hmm.
of how you present yourself,
Yep.
right? That's a big deal.
I'm just realizing I have a granddaughter with Mars in Leo, and
Ooh,
this child does not stop talking ever.
he or
Ever.
she has a lot to say.
She
You
has
said
a
granddaughter. She has
lot
a lot to say.
and play. The minute she wakes up. What can we play today? What are we going to play? Can you play with me? It's in the 11th house of friends and groups. So
She's drawing people in.
she
She will
sure is.
be a group leader of some sort.
She sure will. She told me.
Oh, she'll have audiences that
Yeah.
are willing to listen to her talk. I love it. Um, Now,
All
that
right.
same day that Mercury moves into Leo is one of those days that we also have transits that are going on. And again, saving time here, we're not going to break all of these down. But I could just say that that day Mercury is also in a trine to Neptune. And then
Ooh.
Venus is also in a trine to Saturn. So we have some maybe more organized ways of thinking. Maybe we have difficulty even expressing ourselves with that trine to
Mm,
Neptune. So
right.
maybe not a good day. It's a green day on my calendar. It's green, but it might not be the best day ever to make big decisions.
Good.
Yeah. I like that. I forgot to cut mine out and put it on a popsicle stick. So while it's a go day, it might also be a day to be very careful about what decisions you're making just because things are a little wompy.
Yeah.
And then that very next day, Mercury is in an opposition to Pluto.
Mhm.
So that would show us that decisions have impact. Whatever
Mhm.
decisions that you might be needing to make have impact.
Yeah.
So make good decisions or don't make them at all.
Ooh.
Hold a
There's
bit.
your challenge.
Yeah, maybe hold till the new moon, which is the next thing for us to talk about
July 5th.
on 5th of July.
Yep. New moon in
Um,
Cancer.
I pulled the chart for that new moon, and of course, it's the new moon in Cancer.
Mhm.
And at that point in time, Venus will still be in Cancer. It's a little out of range. It's an 8-degree bump to from the new moon to Venus in Cancer. But I don't know. I just still want to bring them together. And I think I want to bring them together because the new moon is in an exact opposition to Ceres, which is the mother goddess.
Ooh.
And b
Ooh.
yeah, I was looking at this because Ceres as an asteroid, actually, she is not an asteroid anymore. She is considered a dwarf planet
Okay.
like Pluto. She's actually bigger than Pluto, so she couldn't be a planet, but asteroid wasn't quite appropriate. So thus they made the new category of dwarf planet, Ceres being one of them, and she symbolizes nurturing energy, motherhood energy, how we take care of ourselves and others.
Okay.
So at the new moon, what we're getting is a dose of self-nurturing,
Hmm.
right? And
Wow. Uh,
but she's in Capricorn.
Oh, interesting. Well, the business of nurturing?
The business of nurturing maybe or associated with structure and ambition and disciplining ourselves around nurturing
Right.
ourselves and
Sure.
others. We can't have that deficit going on.
Right.
So I think it's really interesting that juxtaposition might really emphasize for us where we're out of balance with taking care of ourselves or where we're out
Mhm.
of balance with taking care of things like business. So we have business on one side, we have family and traditions and motherhood on the other. Capricorn is the sign of the father. So we have father and mother need
Right.
to come into balance. And perhaps because it's a new moon, we start something new that helps us take care in a different way. What do you think?
I love that idea. And I think the more that I look at astrology, the more I see that it's always about trying to figure out the axes and the balance that astrology is trying to show you that's possible. The possibilities
Yes.
that are created are just incredible. I think all of that makes perfect sense. I have a question because in my own notes
Uh-huh.
on July 5th, I made a note about the Mars sextile Saturn. Is that the same day under this moon, or is that the next day?
Um, Mars
Mars in Taurus
sext.
sextile Saturn in Pisces.
I don't even see that listed here. Mars. Oh, there's a sextile to Mars. The moon sextiles Mars. Sextiles Uranus and
Hmm.
Mar. Oh no, Mars. Yes, it is. Sorry, I'm blind and can't see either. It's right there. I highlighted it in pink,
Okay. Yay.
so I would notice it. So yes, Mars sextiles Saturn at the new moon, which also highlighted on the chart right over
Oh, there.
here.
Okay. Shouldn't we
Oh,
talk about
Lordy.
that? Because that's going to go for several days.
Yes, and, here's the thing about or what I think about that.
Okay.
First of all, if we look at what is a sextile, right? When we talk about all of these different, combinations of relationships with the planets, we first have the conjunction. And in a conjunction, it's the merging of these two different energies.
Yes.
So at some point, Mars was conjunct Saturn, and we had the merging of those two, likely in the sign of Pisces, right? Because that just happened a few months back. And then we go to the semi-sextile, if you want to go to that, it's kind of minor. And we begin to see like, okay, whatever was merged here, we need to find a way to cooperate to bring in those two energies because now they're splitting apart, right? So now we're seeing, ooh, it's maybe a little difficult for Mars to bring together those Saturn qualities in Pisces, but also to have to work through Aries boldness because now I'm the king here, and now we go to the sextile, which is the 60-degree separation between the two. And
Mhm.
now it begins to harmonize.
Mm.
So we get this harmony between the structure, the discipline, the form of Saturn in taking the imagination energy that Mars catalyzed and
Mhm.
then moving it into actuality. Mars slows down in Taurus. He
Right.
has to, right?
Right.
So that we can maybe get a strategy about what it is, how it is that we want to bring about those energies, those creative urges.
Mm.
Maybe we have to see where we're trying to act on too many things all at one time.
Mhm.
And Mars and Taurus really it works best. One foot in front of the other, Miss Manifesting Generator, right? Not 10 feet in front of the other.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so it's to me, it's a very big deal for us to really see how the things that we wanted to do, the creative imaginings that came together back when they had the conjunction, is now about how to strategize getting them out there.
Yeah.
Uh, or maybe you've done the strategizing and now it's time to take the actual action and put your best foot forward with those plans.
Mm.
What do you think about that?
I don't think I can add anything to it. I mean, I I basically see the same thing that
Hmm.
uh, I can't add to it except that Mars and Taurus. You mentioned creativity. I mean, I tend to think more towards values and resources than the creative part, although they are creative. Um, so maybe around budgeting and a
Creative financing.
yeah, creative financing. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, because there's, the sign of Taurus is ruled by Venus. So we have values, we have money, we have relationship, we have love, we have, creativity in terms of the divine feminine kind of creative energy. So we have all of those things that are, ready to be harmonized in our lives.
Yeah,
So again, depending on where those things are in your own personal chart, it might take on the more financial
true.
tone, or it might take on the more let's get aligned with our values kind of tone, or
Right.
maybe the more creative tones, really kind of dependent. But either way you look at it, all of those things are um, being harmonized in some way at this moment, at that moment, at the new moon, which is extraordinary because if you look at the new moon, there are three bodies that are at 14 degrees, which is the
Mhm.
sun, the moon, and Ceres, which is in the opposition point. And then there are three bodies at 19 degrees, which is still close enough to, be part of the new moon
And
aspects.
yep.
And those are Mars, Saturn, and Pallas Athena,
Ooh.
another asteroid pseudo dwarf planet that is all about strategy and using wisdom in a
Mhm.
powerful action oriented way. So I haven't really deconstructed this chart completely, but I also noticed that right in the midpoint is Chiron between Saturn and Mars.
Yep.
And that led me to think about some kind of healing potential around either values, worth, confidence, money,
Mm.
budgeting, banking, finances, economy, and Saturn's imagination. So being more
Ooh.
creative, that kind of thing. So the sextile, awesome. Having it as part of the new moon is an opening, a gateway for being different, with how being more strategic, let's say, in how you go about creating from your intentions, perhaps
Mm.
for this month.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. And that's definitely a green day on my calendar, as is the 6th. I'm not sure why, because there's nothing really outwardly going on. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, maybe that is
It's
rest.
just a nice day.
Just rest. Yeah.
What's next on your list?
For me, I'm going into the 12th where when Venus enters Leo.
Yeah, I have Venus into Leo on the 11th, likely because mine is set on the West Coast time. It looks like Venus moves into Leo at 9 a.m. on the 11th. Um,
Okay.
but by the 12th, she's absolutely there, and she walks right into an opposition with Pluto.
Yes.
That's impact, right? Impact in our relationships, impact in our money, impact in all Venus things.
Yeah.
And the
Right.
fact that she's in Leo and it's opposing the great transformer Pluto, I just wonder, I just wonder about all of the political stuff, all of the.
Oh, I think it's coming. It's coming to a head, and I think that might be a perfect reason for that to finally do its thing.
I'm a little worried, a titch bit worried,
Sure.
because that's also the day that Trump is supposed to be sentenced
Oh, right.
for his
Ooh.
hush money trial crimes.
Right. Right. Right.
And I feel like the poor judge in this is damned if he does and damned if he doesn't,
True.
because no
True.
side is going to be 100% happy about
Right.
anything.
Right.
And because this is happening at the crux of that Mars Uranus conjunction, which is just on the 15th, a few days later,
Yep.
is it the reason that some kind of dramatic confrontation or conflict occurs?
It could be, and I get it. I kind of feel the same way about it. Like it could be a starting point of something ugly, or not. Well, I
It
mean,
could,
like,
yeah. Yeah, there's always the or not, but yeah, we're talking Leo energy,
yeah, I know.
and we're
Drama.
talking Mercury and Venus now in Leo,
Yep.
and that leads to the drama, the over expression of anger, or the
Mhm.
over the top expression of anything really. Um, Venus in an opposition to Pluto is about power struggles
Yep.
within relationships.
Hmm.
And then on the 15th, Mars conjunct Uranus in Taurus.
Right.
I think kaboom is one word I would use. But
Ooh.
I also think of, thank God it's Taurus and it's not, say, like Leo, that conjunction happens
Right.
in, right?
Right.
Taurus is a little more stable, a
Yep.
little more, down to earth,
Hmm.
might hold things in check a bit.
Hmm.
It could be a financial out picturing of that particular sentencing. I mean, our economy is fragile, and things that happen in the world that you wouldn't expect to affect the economy.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
noticed I was rereading the almanac for this month, and I noticed that in my writing, projected something in the economy. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And economy, there's a big part of this whole thing that really is a reflection of and sorry, we're going to wax political for a minute. That takes us into what are the values of our country?
Right.
What are the underlying values that formed this country, and how are we straying from those values, or how are we struggling to get back in alignment with them, perhaps?
Sure.
All of those things. So there's the values, there's the whole piece that Mars and Uranus together spell revolution in as big a letters as you
They
can
do.
write them,
They do. Yep.
right? So is it an economic revolution? Is I already noticed, and I didn't get to read this article fully, but it had something to do with an election that was happening in, was it Maine? or no, New York?
Which one?
Ah,
What?
it was about this the guy that had was favored to win, not winning because of his stance with Israel. And a different Democratic person won the election. Oh gosh.
Oh,
Again, put a pin in this one. We may have to talk about this one again,
okay.
because it seems like this whole Israeli thing is also playing in Israel and Hamas, right? That whole
Right.
uh,
Yep.
thing is playing into our politics in this country.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. It is.
For
It is.
uh, and so it looks like, Tam, that if you are not a supporter of Israel and Hamas and Israel doing what it wants to do to eradicate Hamas, you are not electable.
Hmm.
Some states now, that might not be all states, but in a state that has a lot of Jewish population, um,
I'm not sure why we have to be guardians of the universe. I don't know why we
I don't either.
manage ourselves and move on, right? we haven't we haven't got our lives together yet. Why are we? Oy vey.
Right? I mean, we can't even solve our border issues. So
Mm.
why are we anyway? That's a whole nother thing.
Yep.
But again, that Mars conjunct Uranus speaks to some kind of revolution. And is
Yep.
that the revolution?
Yep.
And it doesn't make sense that that would be the way that things would revolve,
Evolve.
evolve. But okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a scary day. It's not red on my calendar, and I'm really surprised at that.
Yeah.
Um, but again, here's the thing about aspects. That day, it's exact.
Right.
But usually, everything is playing out as the planet is applying to the conjunction, the square, the opposition, or whatever. So the 11th and 12th, and the 13th and 14th are all days where this is applying to.
Right.
So it really leads me to think that the issues around Trump's indictment and sentencing, or yeah, that whole thing being some kind of trigger.
Well, maybe in the United States that will be the trigger. We'll see. But honestly, like when you look economically around the world, many countries right now are boiling. They are at boiling points economically, and they have to flip switches in their own countries. And so, really, I mean, I think you said it's a scary day that day, or in that time frame. I don't think it's scary. I think it's time because as a world, we cannot continue to live at this level of pain. And so at some point the healing point needs to begin. In order for that to begin, there has to be some kind of upset. Let's
Yeah.
just let's just rip off the band-aid, right? And maybe that's the ripping off of the band-aid so that we can get on with healing.
Yeah, I would definitely watch what's happening that whole week, and even after it separates from that, because there's probably a lot of juicy tidbits of things that happen that are actually catalysts.
Yeah.
Because you got it when Mars is in a conjunction, it's a catalyst. And
Yeah.
what's he catalyzing? He's catalyzing Uranus. And what is Uranus but awakening,
Mhm.
change,
Yep.
upset,
Revelation.
revolution, revelation, electricity,
Yep.
right? Is it a day that we have, some kind of awakening or something that comes to the surface? So, and it's always unexpected. Like we don't know exactly how it will play out.
Right.
So it's a good day to take the tidbits and run with them.
I love it. Woohoo! Let's go.
Watching. And again, not to worry people. This isn't about you being scared. Oh, it's a Mars Uranus conjunction. It's about being aware. It's awareness, right? Because from awareness, then you can choose how you respond versus reaction.
Yeah.
And if we could only convince the bulk of the world that doesn't know anything about astrology to at least do that,
Oh, can you
it would
imagine?
be such a safer place, right? It would be such a better world that we live in.
Uh,
But
Janet, we got to go into the chat. There's some comments there, and I just realized Teddy's telling me like my microphone isn't working great. Sorry, I was sitting too far away. But you might want to read the comments. There's a few things in there.
okay, let's go through here. Good morning, Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, Pam Zaruba, Christine Buckingham, TJ. Okay, so you're working through the sound. I could hear you just fine though.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what that's all about. A little bit crackly in the beginning, but now it's a whole lot better. Good
Okay.
morning to J Lo and Jolie and J Lo. What gate will it happen on? What gate will it happen on? HDGK. Oh, you're talking about the Mars Uranus conjunction? Well, that should be in
Oh,
gate 23. It's gate, oh, no, it isn't. This will happen in gate 8 because
8, 8.
that's on the 15th. Gate
Can you
8.
help decode that for us, will you?
I will. I'm just confirming. I want to see. Yes, gate. Wait, Mars, where are you? Oh, because it's the 15th. Oh God. So I'm freaking out because I'm looking at this going, no, but Mars is in gate 23. But it's not. It if you look at the right date, it's going to happen in gate 8. Now that's actually a good gate.
Okay.
Um, in terms of human design or the gene keys, because we're looking at contribution and how do we
Ooh.
contribute from our own gifts and our own talents to the greater good. And I'm going to give you the gene keys spread. Remember, gene keys, everybody has a shadow, a gift, and a siddhi. So the shadow being, um, where we're not seeing what we need to see or we're not behaving to our highest potential. The gift being the thing that we're striving for, right? To get to the gift to move us out of the shadow. The city being the highest expression of that particular DNA that we have, right? So this is called the diamond of the self. Ooh, I'd like to unpack that one day. The shadow in this gate is mediocrity,
Ooh.
and the gift is style, and the city is exquisiteness.
Oh.
Exquisiteness, right? So it really tells us about how we are each individually here to be our authentic true selves. And that's our contribution to be the best you. It doesn't mean,
Hmm.
if you're a teacher, then be the best teacher that you can be. If you are a janitor, be the best janitor that you can be, if that's your contribution.
I want to ask a question. So let's think about this in terms of the Mars conjunction to Uranus. So if revelation is happening, there's a catalyst for revelation of some sort. Is the advice for us to show up as our best selves at that moment as this is going on? Be your
Ooh,
best self, right? Be
you,
your best self. Hurry up, be your
yes.
best self.
I think that's absolutely an imperative that we have to pay
Yeah.
attention to for each one of us. It seems very clear, that the path forward is about us being, true to ourselves,
Mm.
being true to our own and committed to our own contributions. The struggle in the gate 8, though, that shadow of mediocrity, happens when we start to compromise.
Mm.
And I don't, there's compromise that's in a positive way,
Sure.
but when we are compromising our own selves, we're giving away too much, or we are just saying, well, yeah, I want to do this or be this, but I'll settle for this.
Mm.
So it brings that up. Where are you settling for less than your most authentic, beautiful, wonderful self? And the struggle might be the aha when the light bulb comes on, Uranus, right there,
Right, right.
that says you are not taking action in the right direction. And Mars giving you ability to move in that direction of being more in your own style, right? And
Uh,
being the best you. Yeah.
I love it. I love that. That's that. I'm so glad that she asked that question because I think
Yeah.
that gives us a lot of insight about how to behave as something potentially revolutionary is occurring, right?
Yep. Lots of revolutionary things occurring personally because Mars is a personal planet,
Mm-hmm.
but also Uranus being a transpersonal planet, meaning collectively as
Right,
well. So we
right.
have both the personal expression of that revolutionary energy and the collective expression of that revolutionary energy.
Woo!
Yeah, it does make it woo. It does.
Can we put a date frame? Are we going to say the like 11th through the 16th? What are we using for brackets
Yeah,
here?
I'm gonna say actually yeah, let's go to the ephemeris and see how close they're getting. Because, sometimes, what we think of as the conjunction is when it comes right to the exact degree. But
Okay.
when we look at July and we look at Mars and we look at Uranus, let's see here, they are, on the 13th, 2 degrees away.
Yeah.
To Mars is really not moving very quickly. On July 11th, they are 3 degrees away from that point at which they will be in an exact conjunction.
Right. Yep.
So I'm gonna go with, maybe July 9th even. That's
Okay.
5 degrees. That's within the 6 degrees that we would usually use for a conjunction.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna take that out until, the 21st. Think
Oh, wow.
that
Okay.
because then Mars leaves, um, Taurus for Gemini.
Oh, right. That's true. I have that
So
down.
while it's not gonna be intense that whole time, we at least have, or here, I'm gonna look at my book here, and I'll tell you when I think a better date might be, and that's when and if Mars moves off gate 8. Yeah, 21st.
Okay.
Boom.
Perfect. So there's your days to watch, everyone. And I see a bunch of new comments. I just want to check.
Let's see. Um, can you read them? Can you see them?
I can. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So which ones do you want to read about?
We've got a whole bunch of good mornings and happy Wednesdays. How's the 9th of July going to be? That's my birthday. Healing with Art. Oh, I love her name or his name.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How's the 9th of July going to be? Well, the 9th of July on my calendar has almost nothing on it. It's blank.
Oh, right.
I mean, literally, the biggest thing is the moon in a sextile to the sun and the moon conjunct Pluto. But that's deceptive because for healing with art, I don't know where you live. And likely your birthday is actually happening on the 8th, right? So the 8th is a day where we have Venus in a sextile to Uranus and Mercury in a sextile to Jupiter. Those could be very good contacts to have on your birthday. The moon looks like it will be in Leo, transitioning over to Virgo. So I'm guessing you have the year ahead with the moon in Leo. That
Mm-hmm.
is awesome, right?
Right.
It's great for self expression, for being creative, for
Right.
making yourself the center of something, the center
Romance.
of your own world. Lots of good stuff there. So I think it could be a good day. I don't think you need to worry, right?
Good Lord. Janet, we've got
Yeah.
8 minutes to blast through the rest of the month.
So pick one that there's two that I want to talk about, and I need to talk about them superficially because otherwise I'll go crazy.
Uh,
One in human design on the 16th is Jupiter's moving out of the gate of enthusiasm where he's been to the gate of what I think of as the Jack and Jill of all trades gate, the gate of experience.
oh, yeah.
And Jupiter there may be starting to amplify and magnetize our experiences and how we share them with one another. There could be more, but we'll just do that later. And then on the day that Mars moves into Gemini, which is actually the 20th on my calendar,
Yep.
because it happens in the afternoon. Yeah, it's in the afternoon. There's a node shift. Now, in human design, the nodes shift every 3 to 4 months, right? And that node shift emphasizes a different aspect of the sign, in this case, Aries and Libra.
Mm-hmm.
And the node is shifting to some really interesting energies. The north node into the gate 17, which has a very logical feel to it. It is the gate of anticipation, we call it. So we're looking at what do we need in order to create a new story. In the gene keys, I love it because it's omniscience, our ability to tap into the
Oh,
bigger picture of everything.
wow.
And the south node will move into the gate 18, which is called the gate of perfectionism, or sometimes we think of it as criticism. So it's an invitation for us to, yes, have a critical eye and be analytical, but be very, very careful about how we apply that criticism to self and others.
I told you I'm just here for comic relief, but honestly, when you said the gate of perfectionism and criticism, I said she means the gate of Virgo. Gee.
It's actually more Libran energy.
Really?
But one of the things that has been pounding at me lately, you guys are just going to love this, is that we are so lagging behind due to the precession of the equinoxes at this point in time that so like we were talking about the Pluto return of the USA, but that's really happening right this minute. If we talk about precession of the equinoxes, which astrology, Western astrology, tropical astrology has not kept up with.
Mm.
So we're skewed by, 1 degree every 72 years. So depending on the planet, how skewed are we? Well, we're really skewed.
Yikes.
And so when the more I talk about like, well, what's happening with Mercury in Leo? Well, Mercury is really going to be in Cancer, the constellation. With the constellation and the astrology signs drifted, or at least our interpretation of them drifted. So
Yes.
they're no longer, when we're talking about Mercury and Leo, we're not really talking about Mercury and Leo. And I just wonder if it plays into sometimes where we're not quite fitting in the context of what's going on.
I
I don't
just
know.
want to say that I'm really glad you brought that up. I have been looking at that, and I've been looking at biblical astrology, and I probably am more confused now about astrology than I was when I first began my journey with the energy almanac. It's true. I
Yeah.
hate admitting that because I'm writing it, but it's true. There's a lot more questions now than there are answers. I very much believe in astrology still, and I always will because I know it's accurate, but there are definitely more questions about how we're interpreting than before.
Yeah. We
Sorry.
didn't keep up, right? The whole thing didn't keep up. We
Right.
didn't move with the times.
Right.
And it only, the drift, the precession of the equinoxes, if you will, moves 1 degree every 72 years. Well, if you figure astrology goes back, I don't know, 3,000, 5,000 years, let's say,
Yeah,
that's a lot of drift.
that's a lot of drift.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder then, like, for example, the ecliptic plane, which is where all the zodiac signs lie across the constellations,
The
lie,
constellation.
right?
Yep.
But now Chiron's domain, which is Ophiuchus, the constellation Ophiuchus, is actually being hit by the sun every year as it's now the foot of Ophiuchus is now in the ecliptic plane, but we're not counting it as what it should be, which is a 13th sign.
And that I was just gonna say that. Oh my God, the 13th sign, and we have to bring that into astrology. I I even thought about writing an almanac just based on biblical astrology because it would include that.
Yes,
I'm
and it's if you say that to any normal general astrologer, they will lambast you.
But I tell you, it's coming. The what's everything old is new again. I'm telling you, it's coming and it's going to come forward and people are going to accept it.
Yeah. And
Do
it's gonna
another
be because of people like you and me who are out here talking about this and realizing, wait, Mars conjunct Uranus and Taurus. Well, Mars is truly going to be in Taurus, so there's that. Um, but some things are not what we are saying they are if you're following the real astrology based on where that planet actually is in a constellation.
right.
Yeah.
And we've got to go there to get true
Yeah.
meaning. Oh, we only have
Yeah,
2 minutes and the good talk just began.
yeah. So one day maybe we can correct all of these things. But that means all of our astrology programs are wrong unless you find one. There is a form of sidereal astrology, I think it's called,
Sidereal.
or is it
Yep,
sidereal? Yeah,
yep, yep,
that does correct for all of these things. So we can
yep,
pull sidereal charts.
yep.
Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should just throw in an extra getting together one day and talk about that.
I think you and I should definitely have an offline discussion about all of that. There's a
Yeah.
lot I'd like to talk about. We're just
TD Hawk says Native American astrology is 13 signs.
Yep, I know. There's a 13th, I'm going to say this too, month. And there's like the year is 364. Then there's one day that is a day of rest for the entire planet. Like there's a whole thing. And it's a lot, but it is something we should look
I think so too. J-Lo says, yes.
at.
Yes.
With the S's.
Yes.
And there's
Anyway, what were you going to say? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
I just wanted to say, like, I know we're wrapping up, and I think I've been a little clunky today, and I just want you to know my pen exploded in the first 10 minutes. So I'm sitting here with ink all over.
Oh my God, look at your other hand. the
I know,
left
like
brain. Ah!
I'm just covered. My legs are covered in ink, and I gotta go.
I think you gotta go clean yourself up.
I have to
Hopefully
go
it didn't
clean
get on
myself
your clothes.
up.
If it got on your clothes, hairspray.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah,
good to
and dab at it. If you got it on your
know.
clothes, just hairspray it and dab at it, and it'll
Oh,
pull it
I
out.
got it on my
Yeah.
forehead. Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
a
So what we didn't really talk about was the full moon.
right.
We can talk about that later in the month.
Yeah,
The sun's move into Leo on the 22nd. There are a ton of connections between
yeah,
planets that we just have to take up one week at a time.
I think so.
Uh,
I was looking at Mercury and Virgo, but really, Neptune sextile Pluto, I was interested in talking about. But it's
mm,
been an hour, and it's been a really good hour.
yeah, Neptune sextile Pluto is an ongoing transit. It has been
Yeah,
for a long time. It's like our generation was
yep.
born with it that way.
Isn't that
So
worth a show for you one
I
time?
think it might be, yeah.
Yeah.
And white toothpaste will take out the ink too.
Oh, yay! Off my
White
hand.
toothpaste. So,
White. I have
yeah.
white. It's good.
All right, you guys. Well, Tam, it's 9:01. I'm sorry we got off on a tangent, but those tangents are always so much fun. So more to come on sidereal astrology. Anything that you want to share about what's going on in your Tam world? Um,
Yeah, I actually would like everybody to know that the 2025 Energy Almanac, I'm super excited. I just saw the cover yesterday. I will be printing it out to share with everybody at the next podcast that Janet and I do together, and it's going into its final stages of getting ready to go to print. So it's very exciting, and everybody can feel free to mark their calendars for September 1 through 10 when I will do a specific pre-sale where you get a few extras if you buy during those 10 days. And yeah, so getting closer. It's very exciting. Other than that, my world is all art all day, every day.
oh, that's a good thing. It's because that's your passion.
It sure is.
The next time Tam and I will meet is July 31st, I
Mm,
think. Yeah, because yeah, July 31st. Um, right here, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m.
I
Eastern
love
time.
saying this to everybody who reads the Energy Almanac. Like, hold on to your panties for July 9th through the 21st. I think it's going to be a wild ride. And take notes. It'll be worth looking at later on.
It will be, I think so. Take note personally of what's going on and then what's going on in the world around you,
Absolutely.
because it could be it's an interesting life we lead right now. We lead, and astrology helps us to know what to watch out for.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Tam, for being here with me. We always have these great discussions. We'll see you all next month together, but I will see you all on Friday morning, 8 a.m. Go, go team.
Go team.
Bye for now.